Okay, now I think I know what you're going to say because I believe, had a podcast episode about this incident. So what was your scariest incident or moment on trail?
I think we're talking about the storm, aren't we?
Yes, in
Yeah,
Oregon, right? Oregon
yeah,
storm?
yeah. That was definitely the scariest moment. We attempted to do the Oregon Challenge. I was with Dirt Magnet, my English friend, and Lizzie King, my German friend. Was the three of us. We planned out our Oregon Challenge for 2 weeks. We'd sent resupply boxes ahead. We figured everything out, and we're like militant. We were like, we're going to do it. So it might have been the second or the third day. I'd done my first 32-mile day on trail and was feeling pretty happy with myself. And we'd found quite a good camp spot on a ridge line. It was protected by trees, and I'd found a perfectly flat spot. I was really proud to pitch my tent because the night before I hadn't slept on a flat spot and I hadn't slept very well. So I was thinking, I'm going to have the best night's sleep tonight. And then it started raining as we'd eaten and got into our tents. I was like, okay, well, we knew it was going to rain. That's fine. My tent can handle it. And then the rain got heavier. Then thunder and lightning started to come in. And the thunder and lightning, I have never experienced anything like this. The thunder was vibrating the floor. You could feel the floor vibrating, and the thunder and lightning were happening at the same time. So it was apparent that the lightning was definitely above us and sort of ripping around our campsite with like triple lightning bolts as it was just so intense. And I felt like I could see my bones when the lightning was crashing. So that was just quite a scary experience, realizing that a lot of the forest fires are made by lightning strikes, and there hadn't been much rain for weeks, if not months, in that area. And back in North California, there was a really major forest fire, and hundreds of PCT hikers had to be evacuated over a 100-mile stretch of trail, and we could see the fires behind us as we were leaving California. So it was quite scary. I was shouting out to my friends, and I couldn't hear them because of the noise of the storm. And I started to hear Dirt Magnet shout in a little bit more of a panicked voice than Lizzie King. So I decided to get up and see what she was doing, because she was sleeping in a tarp tent. So she didn't have a solid tent. She was either doing like cowboy camping or she put up a tarp just to protect herself. And I began to get myself ready, and I noticed my tent was starting to float. And I looked outside my tent, and there was probably 4 inches of water just about around my bathtub base of my tent, and my bag was just floating on top of it. And I thought, there's going to be a flash flood, or my tent's going to collapse and I'm going to go down with it, and then there's going to be a fire next to me. It was just all these scenarios are running through my mind. So I put all my stuff in dry bags, went out to my friend Dirt Magnet, and her possessions were everywhere floating underneath her tarp shelter. And she had a battery pack, her camera, her phone, all her clothes just floating, and her sleeping bag was completely submerged. So we didn't really know what to do, and both of us were soaked at this point. We managed to pack all of our stuff away eventually and went back into Lizzie King's tent. He's got a little one-man tent, and we just sat there shivering, like, what are we going to do? We're like running through all the scenarios of like, there's only one trail up and one trail back. There's no like get out of jail cards, like different trails. We just sat there for an hour, like, what do we do? So we decided, let's pack everything up and go. Let's wait for the thunder and lightning storm to finish, and we could hear it in the distance. We knew it was reasonably safe to leave, and it was still rainy, but it wasn't heavy. So yeah, we walked. We'd done our 32 miles, and then we walked, I think, like another 15 miles into Mazama village near Crater Lake. But that I can't remember. It's like 15 miles. I can't remember exactly how much it was. That walk was in the darkness because it was 1 o'clock in the morning. There was no moonlight or starlight because there was clouds covering everything, and it was pitch black. So you're walking in a tunnel and you can't see either side of you. But when you do turn to one side or the other, you know you're on a ridge line, and you can also know that you're in a burn zone because the trees are all burned, and you can start to smell smoke as well, which my mind was thinking, well, is it a fire? Is it the smell of smoke that you sometimes get when you walk through a burnt area? And we turned around another ridge line, and we could see a tree on fire. on, I assume, another ridgeline in the distance. And it was just, the next day when we'd recovered from all of it, I realised actually how dangerous that potentially could have been. And there was, the rain had washed away a lot of the trail. So there was one bit which we spent 20 minutes, the three of us, trying to find the trail, because it was a sandy sort of trail and it just washed away and we couldn't see where the trail was. My headlamp ran out of battery. Dirtman didn't have a headlamp, or if she did, it probably would have, the water would have broken it. And yeah, it was just like one thing after another. And then we got into Mazama village, and a lot of other people had been wetted out by the storm, but I don't think anyone had ventured out at 1 a.m. to try to do that last stretch. And it was just mad. And in the moment, it was really scary. It's very intense experience with the thunder and lightning and the fear of a fire, I think.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of fear. And then just maybe even the sinking feeling once you realize the water was coming up.
Yeah. I was so proud of my camp spot as well. And the ground's just really hydrophobic. It's just not absorbing any water. So I can imagine just all of us in our tents just like flying down the mountain. You do hear about these things happen, not necessarily with campers, but like mudslides and that sort of thing, and flash floods.
Definitely. Yeah. And that does sound very scary. And even just like what you're saying, you guys got up and hiked at a certain point out of there. That must have been, like you're saying, really difficult to find the trail. It was probably washed out. Was it very muddy? Like it was hard? Was it really hard to just take one step after the other? Was it kind of okay?
It was mixed. I think there were sections where it was that sort of like gritty, sandy soil. So it was pretty solid, but there was a lot of blowdowns on the trail, and we were like, have these come down from the storm, or were they here already? Is it safe for us to keep walking? But if we'd stayed in our camp in one person's tent that was still not flooded, we were shivering and cold. We kind of had to keep moving, otherwise, I don't know, hypothermia could have become a thing, because it was.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it sounds like you guys did the safest thing, is just to keep warm. But then I can't imagine going over blowdowns in the dark.
And not knowing whether you go over blowdown, then you lose the trail, because normally you go over blowdown, you can see the trail. But if you've just got, it was one headlamp in the end between the three of us, we're sort of holding hands and like keeping Dirt Magnet in the middle. And
Oh yeah, this is one of the craziest stories I've heard so far. And my experience is included too.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. It's like, I wish I'd taken some more pictures or something, but in the moment I didn't want to get my phone wet.
No, in those situations, it's kind of like, hey, I need to survive this. Like the phone, the cameras are like second to this. So your focus was in the right place.
I felt like I went into survival mode. I was sort of like, everything, need to keep everything dry. I'm putting everything in dry bags. Is everyone else okay? This is what we're doing. I don't know, actually, I'm a bit scared. Like, what should we do?
There's no time to break out your phone and film, because what if this thing gets wet? You need to make sure it's dry. So I feel like you made a good call there. But oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys made it. And I think I messaged you on Instagram, because after I listened to it, I think I was in Helena at the time at a coffee shop, and then walking to the post office listening at the same time. And I was like, oh my God, I have to like make sure she's okay, or just like say, I'm so glad you made it through this.
Thank you. I think I was I knew how dramatic the story was, so I thought, right, this is going to make a good podcast. And I just no one else experienced that on trail at all. We met a lot of people that got wet in that storm, but I think a mixture of exactly where we were and the storm being over us and the flood, and then having to hike out.
And the headlamp situation, just like the stars aligned, I think, for you in the worst way possible. But you guys
had no food. I'd run out of food. I think I had like 2 bars left. So
you ran out of food? Oh.
Well, we were going to town the next day, so I knew I could survive. But
that's true. Yeah.